Hello everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon. Jiujitsu2000 here today. I'm back. I've got an interesting video for you. I'm out enjoying this beautiful weather and I'm talking about knives today. I'm talking about the Mora Garberg. One of my favorite knives, full tang, two versions, stainless steel version here. You can see that it's a full tang knife, nice grind, and also the carbon steel version. These are quickly becoming one of my favorite knives to take out in the woods with me when I go out. What if I told you that I found something that's just as good for half the price? Would you be interested? We're going to take a look at the Condor Terrasuar. Hope I'm saying that right. This is from the Condor Manufacturing Company. Comes in this box, a little beat up here. Made in El Salvador. And this knife is made out of good high carbon 1095 steel to compete with the Mora Garberg. Now there's the knife. We'll look at that in a second. What else comes in the package? Nothing else but these two items here. This is a little sheet that tells you about carbon steel knives, that they will rust if they are next to moisture, so keep them lubed or greased up. And then there's a little Condor, kind of like a little catalog with some of their products. Go through this a little bit and show you. It's got some cool stuff, showing a lot of their knives. Pretty cool little catalog. There's the Otzi knife right there, Otzi the Iceman. And then the Condor bush lore right there. I used that knife for a while and that was a good one. And I have the mini bush lore. They're good knives. Nice stuff. Good company. I have a few of their knives. But let's take a look at this. Let's see. Does this compete with the Garberg? So this knife is literally half the price. Comes in three different colors. You can get it in black, you can get it in olive drab, kind of green, and you can also get it in a desert tan. So here's a close look at it. The sheath. You can see the bottom has two little drain holes there. Got the Condor logo on it. Nice little piece of leather. And very similar to the Garberg, this little piece here comes off of the sheath. Okay. And fits on there, clicks right into place, very similar to what the Garberg has. The Garberg's is a little harder to get off, but it's kind of the same idea. One thing that I did notice about the Condor, the little piece here, is the leather on the Condor appears to be a little bit thicker. Leather looks like it's a little bit thicker, so it's a little heavier duty. So you're dealing with two full tang knives. Now if you look at, let me look at the carbon version, because this is the carbon version of the Condor. So here is the Mora Garberg, right? It's one of my favorites. It's a good knife. Now looking at the Condor, you can see very similar to the Mora Garberg. The blade profile is a little bit different. The hand grip area is just a little bit smaller, but I really like it. I think it's going to do a good job. The blade is it's a little tiny bit shorter. I think the Mora Garberg says their blade's 4.3 inches and the Condor says that their blade is 4.1. And you can see the nice exposed pummel on the back of the blade there. So it's very similar. Nice little lanyard hole there on both knives. Garberg is definitely one of my favorites, and when I found out about this Condor, I thought, man, I got to bring one of those in and check it out. This is not sponsored by Condor or Mora. This video is knives that I bought with my own money. You can see that the Condor comes with oil on the blade. Again, it's a high carbon steel blade. For those of you who don't know much about high carbon steel, it's good to keep those blades lubricated, because if you don't, they can rust. And high carbon steel is good in a survival knife, because if you bang a piece of chert or quartz or flint against the spine of the blade here, you can actually get some sparks off of it and capture those sparks in char cloth and blow that char cloth to flame. So the thickness of the blades are about the same. The one thing I'll say is the Condor, the machining is a little bit rough around the edges, but you're dealing with a knife that's just as good for half the price. So I could deal with a little bit less quality machining if I'm able to pick up two for the price of one. The plastic or the scales here on the Garberg feel very solid, and on the Condor they feel the same. It feels like they're using the same kind of material. If you compare the grip, the Mora has a little larger handle in width here than the Condor, but I like the feel of the Condor because you can really get a good purchase around that with your hand. If you were a person that had large hands, maybe the Mora would fit better for you, but smaller hands, I think the Condor would fit better. I just think that these knives are excellent. Now, I've used the Mora Garberg a lot. This is actually a new one I just got. I have another one that's all beat up. I just really like them, and I think that this Condor Terrasuar is going to be a good knife. The blade profile is a little bit different at the tip there. You see that the Mora has a little drop point a little bit, and the Condor doesn't have that so much, but they both have that real nice Scandinavian type grind. If you feel the spine of the Mora, it's super sharp, so that's good for scraping material and also good for hitting against a ferro rod. And looking at the Condor, you do have a sharp spine, but it's not as sharp as the Mora. The Mora spine is very sharp, and I like that. But the Terrasuar, you could definitely probably hit this with the flat file and make it just as sharp. A little bit of your time and you could make this pretty much the same as a Garberg. And I love the fact that it's full tang. If you want to look at the sheaths a little bit and kind of compare the sheaths, they're very similar. I like that the Condor sheath has thicker leather on it. They're both going to protect the blade, and they're both about the same size. Pretty cool. Nice little Condor logo on the back. The Mora doesn't have any logos on the back. It has their logo on the front, the Mora logo, and then of course Condor does too. I like that they have this little jimping type area, so when you put the knife in the sheath here, it clicks. There's no rattle. Everything's nice and smooth, but you got that little thumb ramp, so you can kind of get the blade out real nice. Now, another thing that I noticed is if you had the Condor knife, you can fit the Condor knife in the Mora sheath and it will stay in there. The blade on this Condor is a little bit smaller, and it does click in, listen, and it's a good tight fit. Now, it doesn't fit the Mora in the Condor sheath. It's too wide. The grips here are a little bit wider. Doesn't fit. So if you had a couple of these Condors and maybe an extra Mora sheath, you could definitely put that old sheath to use. But the Condor sheath feels good. It actually has better retention than the Mora sheath. You can hear that just click in. No rattle. I really like this. Good solid rivets holding the leather on. That leather's thick. It's gonna last. And I haven't had any problems with the Mora leather. It's lasted just fine too. But normally what I do with my knives is I just throw them in my bag. So I don't really use this that much. But I think this is going to be a good addition to my bushcraft knives. I really think that it's nice. I like the fact that they offer this in 3 different colors. Again, you get olive drab, green, you get desert tan, or black. And I think it's going to be a really good competitor against the Mora Garberg for half the price. I mean, you could get 2 of these for the price of 1 of these, which is nice for me. And, you know, I could put 1 in each bag and have just as good a knife. Look at the size of the rivets there. This is the Mora here, and this is the Condor. The Condor has a lot bigger rivets. Pretty cool. Here's the first piece that I'm going to baton. This piece was wet when I first cut it. But you can see it's dry on the inside, and I just love the way that smells. Oh, it smells beautiful. So we're going to set that right there. We'll give this blade a shot and see how well it batons. I'm just getting right after it. Banging on the tip of the blade right there. Hoping that I can get through this piece of wood. The knife feels good. I'm going to be careful here at the end because I don't want to bang my blade down into the rock here. Boy, I love the way that smells. So it went right through that piece. That piece is pretty good size. So let's try it again. Yeah, the profile of the blade is really good. It's doing a good job here with this batoning. I'm not having any problems. The blade's going right through. It's making quick work out of this. I'm not feeling any hot spots or nothing. Some of you might be wondering, what's the purpose of batoning wood? It's so that you can get to the center of the log where it's dry. And it helps you not have to carry a hatchet around. If you got a good knife that'll baton, you don't have to carry a hatchet, and it saves you on a tool. If you're trying to make a bow drill set, and you're trying to get a spindle or a hearth out of a piece of wood, batoning is the process that allows you to do that. Let's go right in that groove there. Wow, this knife does a good job. I've got half of this piece. You can see the thickness of that, and it just goes right through it. I'm trying to be careful not getting into that rock. This is hardwood too. This is juniper. Look at that, it gets right through it. No problems, it makes short work of it. So yes, this is definitely a nice knife. I love knives that I can use to baton wood with. Whether you're making kindling or a bow drill set, batoning is definitely a task that I do quite a bit when I'm out. So I need a knife that will accomplish this task without breaking, you know, I don't want to worry about breaking a blade or something like that. So there, I just processed that whole piece of wood down into all this wood with that Condor. Now let's take a quick look at the blade and see how that blade looks. I'm not seeing any issues. The blade is still straight. There's no burrs or dings or nothing on that blade. It looks great. There's no issues there at all. I'm impressed. This thing definitely did a good job on the batoning. I have one of those pieces of wood that I batoned, and I'm just going to check the sharpness of this blade. And let's not forget, this is hardwood, so I'm going to do this kind of chest kind of cut here. I got chunks of wood just flying, so the initial sharpness of this blade is pretty good. It's a sharp blade, look at that. Little feathers. A little bit of push cutting. It does a good job. It's a fine blade. nice and sharp. And you're definitely able to get a lot of material gone quickly. Look at that point there that I just made. Wow, that thing is sharp. Nice blade. I think they've done a good job so far with what I'm seeing. One of the tests that I hate doing is stabbing the knife in and then pulling it sideways to test the tip of the blade. Is the tip of the blade going to break off? Is it going to bend? Is it going to break? Is the tip of the blade going to be compromised with this kind of tip test? I hope not, because this is a nice knife. But in the event that you ever find yourself in a situation, is your knife going to hold up to a test like this? It's good to know beforehand. And so far, the profile of the blade is not compromised. It's still perfectly straight. Hopefully you can see that. Now the stab, it goes nice and deep in there. Look at that. It's kind of scary because you think the tip is going to break. Nothing happened to it. No issues. Don't do this at home. It's not a good practice for your knife. But it's definitely something that I like to do as a knife reviewer, to make sure that my blade is holding up like it should. And so far, it's definitely doing good. Looks like it did a pretty good. You can see the knife did a good job of processing a little bit of tinder. This tinder is kind of damp, but I still want to see what it's going to do if I introduce the ferro rod to the spine of the knife. So I got a little bit of light stuff here. This might take a spark. It's dry enough. Let's take a look at this knife. So we got one spark there. Let's see if we can turn this on itself maybe. Hopefully we'll get us a fire going. Put some little smalls on there. A lot of this stuff is damp. A lot of these shavings and stuff. Let's see if we can get that going. Looks like we got a little bit of a fire here. Set a couple rocks there so I can build me a little fire here. So far so good. And that 90-degree spine did really good with those sparks. And it's throwing really nice sparks. So the spine is definitely sharp enough for the ferro rod. Did a good job. So now I have a fire with my Condor knife. That's all it's supposed to do. If I can get a fire out of the spine, then I'm good. So I'm going to enjoy this nice little campfire with the work that I did with this knife. Fire making is always one of the things that I want my knife to do, and the Condor Terrasuar definitely did that with just a cheap, inexpensive ferro rod. Did a good job. I'm going to take a look at some of these sparks. And it throws really good sparks, and I did it all the way up the spine, all the way to the tip of the spine. Does a good job. Very nice knife. Some of you might be wondering, what are my final thoughts on this Condor Terrasuar? Man, this is a good knife. 42 bucks. It reminds me of the Mora Garberg. I mean, it's build quality, the toughness of it, the ability to make fire, process tinder, hit a ferro rod, you know, batoning, all the stuff that a good knife should be able to do. This one handled no problems. So I would highly recommend this knife, as well as the Mora Garberg. Just I guess it kind of depends on what is your price point that you're looking for. This is a solid knife. It's a lot of bang for the buck. Full tang, so it's not going to break on you. It's made out of good steel. Just make sure that you keep that blade lubricated with maybe some tallow, Crisco, something like that, olive oil, and therefore your blade won't tarnish, won't rust. But a bushcraft knife, you know, processing all this material, making fire, making kindling, I think it's a great knife. So I hope you enjoyed this video, folks. I want to say thank you for stopping by. Please make sure that you're checking this description box down below, because I'll put a link to where you can find this knife. Also, feel free to leave your comments down below. Thumb up this video. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. I'm going to enjoy this fire. It's starting to get cold. And the clouds are rolling in. Might get some rain. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Life is good.